They say we'll ask for a $5 million bond in this case.
Ain't that shit
Because of
$5
the
billion?
defendant's- the
$5
defendant's
billion.
statements in the court.
That's disrespectful.
I'm gonna ask you to be quiet.
I'm just making a request. You making $1 million, I'm paying that. I'm getting out. She stole my car. I told her to give it back. Oh, that shit.
Sir.
Stay in your ground. No retreat.
The sound of fists pounding against wood echoes through a Houston courtroom as 44-year-old Dawid Parker loses complete control. His face twisted with rage. He slams the bench repeatedly while screaming at the top of his lungs. That is not real. That is not real. The judge stares in disbelief as this man, accused of executing his own sister, denies the charges with violent fury. But that's just the beginning of this nightmare. Cut to Cleveland, Ohio. Another courtroom, another brother, another dead sister. 32-year-old Antonio Swanson stands before the judge, and when the prosecutor requests a $2 million bond for murdering his 26-year-old sister Willita, something unthinkable happens. Swanson interrupts the proceedings and shouts, "Make it $3 million then. I don't care." Two brothers, two sisters, two confessions that will haunt you forever. These aren't just random acts of violence. These are calculated betrayals that shatter everything we believe about family bonds. What you're about to hear will make you question everyone you trust, because the most dangerous predators aren't strangers lurking in dark alleys. They're sitting at your dinner table. But what you just heard, that's not even the most disturbing part of these cases. Because after Dawid Parker shot his sister Alicia multiple times at a gas station, leaving her bleeding to death in a black BMW, police found him days later at the most twisted location imaginable, her favorite restaurant, the very place where she used to find comfort, and joy became the scene of his arrest. Was this coincidence? Or was this his final act of psychological torture, even after death? And Antonio Swanson? After pumping multiple bullets into his sister during a family argument, he didn't just flee the scene. He escaped on a bicycle like some deranged child, leaving Willita's body behind while their father witnessed the horror. These aren't crimes of passion. These are calculated acts of evil that reveal the darkest corners of the human mind. But here's what law enforcement doesn't want you to know. There were warning signs that everyone missed. Red flags that could have saved these women's lives. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what those signs are, because recognizing them might be the difference between life and death for someone you love. Before we dive into this nightmare, hit that subscribe button, because after today, you'll understand why knowing these warning signs could save your life. This isn't just entertainment. This is survival education disguised as true crime, and you're going to need every piece of information I'm about to share with you. And comment below. Have you ever felt unsafe around a family member? Have you ever had that gut feeling that something wasn't right with someone close to you? Don't ignore those instincts, because as you're about to see, they might be the only thing standing between you and tragedy. Trust me, you'll want to stay until the end for what these monsters said next, because their final statements will reveal the true depth of their depravity. We're talking about confessions so shocking that even seasoned detectives couldn't believe what they were hearing. Hit that notification bell too, because stories like these don't just entertain, they educate. They prepare you for the unthinkable. And in a world where your biggest threat might be sleeping in the room next to yours, that preparation could mean everything. Now, let's enter the mind of a killer named Dawid Parker. Tuesday night, October 22nd, 2019. Barker Cypress Road, near the Katy Freeway in West Houston. What should have been a simple trip to the store would become an execution that shocked even hardened homicide detectives. 48-year-old Alicia Kaylee Parker climbs into her black BMW with her younger brother Dawid. She's the family provider, the one who turned her life around after prison 17 years earlier, the sister who financially supports everyone, including the man sitting beside her. She has no idea she's driving to her own murder. Around 9 p.m., Alicia's phone rings. It's her son on the other end, and her voice carries a tone of concern that will haunt him forever. "Dawid is drunk," she whispers into the phone. Those would be among her final words to anyone she loved. Minutes tick by. 23 minutes of silence that must have felt like an eternity for her son waiting at home. Then his phone rings again. But this time, it's not his mother's voice. It's his Uncle Dawid, and the words that come through the speaker will destroy this family forever. She's been shot, Dawood tells the boy. Your mother's been shot. But here's what Dawood didn't tell his nephew. He was the one holding the gun. Multiple gunshots rang out in that gas station parking lot as Alicia sat trapped in her own vehicle. Bystanders rushed to help, but it was too late. The woman who had rebuilt her life, who supported her family, who trusted her brother with her life, was dead. When Houston Police Department homicide detectives arrived at the scene, they found more than just a body. They found a trail of evidence that would expose Dawood Parker's lies piece by piece. Behind the gas station dumpsters, investigators discovered a black extended magazine with unfired casings scattered around it. Alicia's car keys lay nearby, dropped in the chaos of her final moments. The physical evidence painted a clear picture. This wasn't a random shooting. This was an execution carried out by someone who knew exactly what they were doing. But the real breakthrough came from the surveillance footage. The gas station cameras had captured everything, and when detectives showed the video to Alicia's boyfriend, he immediately identified Dawood Parker as the man with Alicia before the shooting. The footage showed both siblings inside the vehicle, then Dawood getting out and opening fire on his defenseless sister. The lies began falling apart when investigators interviewed the family. Another sister told police that Dawood had called her claiming he was at the gas station with Alicia when he heard gunshots and said she had been shot. He painted himself as a witness, not the killer. He claimed he ran away in fear after hearing the shots. But the surveillance footage told a different story entirely. It showed Dawood Parker as the shooter, not some terrified bystander. Every word he told his family was a calculated deception designed to cover up his monstrous act. Thursday arrives, and Houston police finally track down Dawood Parker. But where they find him will send chills down your spine and reveal the true depths of his twisted psychology. He's sitting calmly at a restaurant. Not just any restaurant, Alicia's favorite restaurant. The very place where she used to find comfort, where she'd go to unwind after supporting her family, where she felt safe and happy. And there sits her killer, 2 days after executing her, enjoying a meal in the place that held her fondest memories. Crystal Beasley, Alicia's closest friend, couldn't believe it when she heard the news. That's crazy. That's demonic. Why go there? What, he missed her? He could have picked any restaurant in the world. Was this coincidence? Or was this Dawood Parker's final act of psychological cruelty, defiling even her memory by turning her sanctuary into the scene of his capture? The answer reveals a level of evil that defies comprehension. October 23, 2019. Cleveland's Buckhighwood Hill neighborhood. A place where families should feel safe, where siblings should protect each other. But for 26-year-old Willita Hill, her own home would become her tomb. 34-year-old Antonio Swanson and his younger sister Willita get into what starts as a typical family argument. Maybe it was about money, maybe about respect, maybe about something so trivial that it wouldn't matter to anyone else in the world. But for Antonio Swanson, this disagreement would justify the unthinkable. The argument escalates. Voices rise. Tempers flare. And then Antonio makes a decision that will haunt this family forever. He pulls out a gun. Not to scare her, not to threaten her, but to end her life. Multiple gunshots ring out through the neighborhood. Willita Hill, a young woman with her whole life ahead of her, crumples to the ground as her own brother stands over her with a smoking weapon. The same hands that once played with her as children, that shared family meals and childhood memories, have just stolen her future. Neighbors hear the shots, but have no idea they've just witnessed a brother executing his sister. In those final moments, as Willita's life slips away, Antonio doesn't call for help. He doesn't show remorse. He doesn't even check if she's still breathing. Instead, he makes a choice that reveals his true character. After pumping multiple bullets into his sister's body, Antonio Swanson doesn't stay to face what he's done. He doesn't call 911. He doesn't try to help the woman whose life he just destroyed. Instead, he runs like the coward he truly is. But here's the detail that shows just how pathetic this killer really is. He flees the scene on a bicycle. Not a car, not a motorcycle, but a bicycle. A 34-year-old man who just committed murder pedaling away from his crime like some deranged child escaping a code playground fight. The manhunt begins immediately. Cleveland police launch a citywide search for Antonio Swanson, knowing they're hunting a man who's already proven he'll kill his own family. Every hour he remains free is another hour of danger for anyone who crosses his path. For 5 agonizing days, Swanson remains on the run while his sister's body grows cold and his family grieves. But on October 20th, 2019, U.S. Marshals finally track him down to a home on Crestwood Avenue. The bicycle-riding killer's freedom comes to an end, but his twisted behavior is just getting started. When Antonio Swanson finally appears in Cuyahoga County Court, what happens next defies all logic and reveals a mind completely detached from reality. The prosecutor stands before the judge and requests a $2 million bond for the murder of Swanson's sister and 2 additional charges of attempted murder. It's a reasonable request for someone who killed his own family member. But Antonio Swanson has other ideas. He interrupts the prosecutor mid-sentence and shouts at the judge, "Make it $3 million then. I don't care." This man, who just murdered his 26-year-old sister, is demanding a higher bond. He's literally asking the court to make it harder for him to get out of jail. When the judge tries to read the indictment, Swanson's response is equally disturbing. "This is ridiculous, sir," he tells the judge, as if the court proceedings are somehow beneath him, as if being charged with his sister's murder is just an inconvenience in his day. Earlier, when his case was bound over from municipal court, his bond had been set at $15 million. But his complete disconnect from reality, his casual attitude toward his sister's death, shows a level of psychological detachment that chills everyone in that courtroom. What transforms a brother into a killer? What breaks the most fundamental bond in human relationships and turns protection into predation? The answer lies in a toxic combination of entitlement, resentment, and psychological fractures that most people never see coming. Criminal psychologists have identified a disturbing pattern in family violence cases. When siblings kill siblings, it's rarely a crime of passion. It's the culmination of years of festering hatred masked by forced family loyalty. These killers often view their victims as obstacles to their own success, or worse, as symbols of everything they failed to become. In both Dawood Parker and Antonio Swanson's cases, we see classic signs of what experts call familial entitlement syndrome. These men believed they had the right to control, manipulate, and ultimately destroy the women who shared their blood. Alicia Parker was financially supporting her family, including Dawood. Willita Hill was simply existing in the same space as her brother. Both became targets because they represented something their killers couldn't tolerate. The betrayal cuts deeper than any stranger's violence because it shatters our most basic assumptions about safety. We expect enemies to hurt us, but we trust family to protect us. When that trust is weaponized against us, the psychological damage extends far beyond the immediate victims. What makes these cases even more terrifying is how normal these brothers appeared to their families. They weren't isolated loners or obvious psychopaths. They were integrated family members who shared meals, conversations, and memories with their victims right up until the moment they decided to kill them. What would you do if you saw these warning signs in your own family? Because here's the terrifying truth. Both Alicia and Willita probably noticed red flags, but dismissed them because he's family. Drop a red alert emoji if this is giving you chills, because recognizing these patterns could literally save your life or someone you love. And I want you to think about this question while you're watching. Have you ever made excuses for a family member's violent behavior because you didn't want to believe they were capable of worse? Comment below and tell me. What's the most disturbing part of these cases so far? Is it the courtroom outbursts? The calculated lies? Or the fact that these women trusted their killers right up until the end? Your engagement helps this content reach people who need to see it. Someone watching this video right now might be living with their own potential killer, and your like or share could be what saves them. Here's what makes these cases even more infuriating. Both brothers had extensive criminal histories that should have been massive red flags to everyone around them. Dawood Parker's rap sheet dates back to 1998 and includes deadly conduct, disarming a police officer, and multiple DWI charges. This wasn't a man who suddenly snapped. This was a career criminal with a documented history of violence and dangerous behavior. Antonio Swanson was labeled a repeat violent offender with multiple criminal convictions in Cuyahoga, county stretching back to 2005. 14 years of documented violence. And yet his sister still trusted him enough to be alone with him during a family argument. The system failed these women by not adequately protecting them from men with proven track records of escalating violence. But more importantly, their families failed them by normalizing and excusing behavior that should have been treated as the deadly threat it truly was. 48-year-old Alicia Kaylee Parker wasn't always the woman her family could depend on. 17 years before her murder, she was serving time in prison, her life seemingly headed nowhere. But what happened next proves that people can change, that redemption is possible, and that sometimes the best people are those who fought their way back from the bottom. It was behind bars that Alicia met Crystal Beasley, a friendship that would define the rest of her life. She was Muslim, I was Christian. We had the most beautiful disagreements, Beasley remembers. Two women from different faiths, different backgrounds, but united in their determination to turn their lives around. After her release, Alicia didn't just rebuild her life. She became the foundation that held her entire family together. She was the provider, the one everyone turned to when bills needed paying or problems needed solving. The woman who once struggled with her own demons became the angel who lifted up everyone around her. And here's the most heartbreaking part. She was financially supporting Dawid Parker, the very brother who would eventually murder her. The man who put bullets in her body was living off her generosity, benefiting from her success, taking money from the woman whose life he was planning to end. Crystal Beasley's words echo the tragedy perfectly. Our brothers are supposed to protect us, not hurt us. Alicia had every reason to believe her brother would shield her from harm. Instead, he became the source of her destruction, repaying her kindness with the ultimate betrayal. 26 years old. That's all the time Willita Hill got on this earth before her own brother decided she didn't deserve to see 27. At an age when most people are just beginning to understand who they are and what they want from life, Willita's future was stolen by the person who should have been her protector. We don't know all the dreams Willita carried, all the plans she had for her life, all the people she might have loved or the children she might have raised. What we do know is that she trusted her brother enough to be alone with him, to engage in what should have been a normal family disagreement, never imagining that Antonio's response to conflict would be murder. The Hill family was torn apart in ways that go beyond just losing Willita. Antonio didn't just kill his sister. He also attempted to murder their father that same day. In one afternoon of rage, he tried to destroy the entire family structure, leaving survivors to grapple with a double trauma, grieving their daughter and sister while processing the fact that their son and brother was the monster responsible. Think about the father who witnessed his son shoot his daughter. Think about the family members who have to live with the knowledge that they shared DNA with the killer. Think about the holidays, birthdays, and family gatherings that will forever be haunted by Willita's empty chair and Antonio's monstrous actions. At 26, Willita Hill had everything to live for. Instead, she became another statistic in the growing epidemic of family violence that's tearing apart homes across America. Justice moves slowly, but it does move. After his violent courtroom outburst, where he pounded the bench and screamed, "That is not real," Dawid Parker found himself facing the reality of a $500,000 bond. The judge wasn't swayed by his theatrical denials or his complete disconnect from the gravity of his actions. Parker's case remains ongoing, with prosecutors building an airtight murder case against the man who executed his sister at a gas station and then had the audacity to get arrested at her favorite restaurant. His extensive criminal history dating back to 1998 will likely work against him when sentencing time comes. Antonio Swanson's legal journey took a different path. The man who demanded a higher bond and called court proceedings ridiculous eventually faced reality. He pleaded guilty to involuntary manslaughter and felonious assault, a plea deal that likely saved him from a murder conviction, but still ensures he'll pay for taking his sister's life. Judge Deborah Turner in Cuyahoga County Court of Common Pleas handled Swanson's sentencing, bringing some measure of closure to a family torn apart by one man's rage. But here's the thing about justice in cases like these. No sentence can bring back Willita Hill or Alicia Parker. No amount of prison time can undo the trauma inflicted on the families left behind. The legal system can punish these killers, but it cannot heal the wounds they've created or restore the trust they've shattered. Crystal Beasley's voice breaks when she talks about her best friend Alicia Parker. 17 years of friendship, built on mutual respect and shared determination to overcome their pasts, ended with a phone call no one should ever receive. "Our brothers are supposed to protect us, not hurt us," she says, capturing the fundamental betrayal that makes these crimes so devastating. But Crystal's pain goes beyond just losing her friend. She's haunted by the knowledge that Alicia was supporting the very man who killed her. He didn't have to kill her. That is pure evil. There's a special place in hell for him, she tells reporters, her words carrying the weight of a friendship that can never be replaced. The ripple effects of these murders extend far beyond the immediate families. Alicia's son will forever carry the trauma of that final phone call where his mother whispered Dawood is drunk, followed by his uncle's voice announcing her death. He'll never know if those 23 minutes of silence were filled with fear, pleading, or resignation. The Hill family faces an even more complex grief. They're not just mourning Willita. They're processing the fact that Antonio also tried to kill their father. Imagine surviving your son's attempt on your life, only to watch him get sentenced for murdering your daughter. These families didn't just lose loved ones. They lost their sense of safety, their trust in family bonds, and their belief that home is a sanctuary. After analyzing these horrific cases, certain red flags emerged that could have saved both Alicia Parker and Willita Hill. First, never ignore a family member's criminal history, especially if it involves violence or weapons charges. Dawood Parker had been arrested for deadly conduct and disarming police officers. These weren't minor infractions. They were previews of his capacity for violence. Pay attention to financial dependency dynamics. When someone relies on you for money but shows resentment or entitlement rather than gratitude, that's a dangerous combination. Alicia was supporting Dawood financially, yet he felt justified in killing her. This twisted logic is more common than you think. Trust your instincts about family members who make you uncomfortable. If someone's behavior escalates during arguments, if they have substance abuse problems that make them unpredictable, or if they've ever made threats, even joking ones, take them seriously. Willita probably sensed something was wrong when that argument started, but family loyalty kept her from protecting herself. Most importantly, understand that being related to someone doesn't guarantee your safety. The statistics are terrifying. You're more likely to be killed by a family member than a stranger. Don't let blood relations blind you to genuine danger signs. If a family member scares you, creates a hostile environment, or has a history of violence, distance yourself immediately. Here's the most disturbing detail we saved for last. Both brothers showed absolutely zero remorse for their actions. Dawood Parker's courtroom tantrum wasn't grief or regret. It was anger at being caught. Antonio Swanson's demand for a higher bond wasn't guilt. It was arrogance. These men felt justified in murdering their sisters, and that mindset is what makes them so dangerous. If this story sent chills down your spine, smash that like button, because content like this saves lives. Every share, every comment, every engagement helps this reach someone who might be living with their own potential killer right now. Subscribe for more true crime that could save your life, because knowledge is your best defense against becoming the next victim. Hit that notification bell so you never miss content that could protect you and your loved ones. And tell me in the comments, what shocked you most about these cases? Was it the courtroom behavior, the restaurant arrest, or the fact that these women trusted their killers until the very end? Your engagement helps this content reach people who desperately need to see it. Stay safe out there, and remember, family doesn't always mean safety.